What's good, y'all? So the Milwaukee Bucks have been one of, if not the absolute biggest disappointment in the NBA this season. I don't know about many of you guys, but me personally, I had them in that top tier of Eastern Conference teams. I thought they were going to finish top four. Obviously, there's plenty of time left in the season, but right now they are 4-8 and not looking very good. That would put them at the 12th seed, and right now they are on a 2-game winning streak, so shout out to them. Things are looking up in a way, I guess. But I just wanted to come on here and talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and some of the stuff that I've been noticing while watching them. And I will be honest, it's not all negative. It's a lot of negative, but it's not all negative. And I do want to start off by talking about one of the high points of the Milwaukee Bucks, and that is, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo. If it wasn't for Nikola Jokic doing unhuman things out there in Denver, I think Giannis would be really hard in the discussion of being best player in the world. That's the type of performances that he's been putting on night in and night out, trying to pull out these victories for Milwaukee. Unfortunately, a lot of the times it doesn't work out. One big example of this was their game versus Boston, where Giannis was just on a mission. Like, when you watched him, you could tell in his mind he was doing everything possible to try to win that game. He ended up with 43 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. And in the first half, when that game was close and Milwaukee had a lead even, it was on the back of Giannis. I believe at one point he had like 20 out of their 30 points or something insane like that. Just disproportionately, Giannis was overproducing, and it was out of necessity. They did end up losing that game to the reigning champs. We saw Giannis have to put on another heroic performance in their most recent game against the Detroit Pistons. That went to overtime, and he was absolutely dominant from start to finish, putting up 59 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, doing it all. He had a super clutch 3 to put the game away in overtime. Like when I'm not exaggerating, Giannis is doing everything he can to try to pull out these victories. And it's nice to see him show that emotion on the court, because you could really tell it means a lot to him. A lot of these rumors are talking about, should the Bucks trade Giannis? Should they do this? Should they do that? Giannis seems like he wants to stay in Milwaukee. In that game against Detroit, after he hit that big shot, I don't think it was after the 3, but it was after a big play he made. He was pounding on his chest. He was showing the jersey, saying this was his city. You could tell how passionate Giannis is about Milwaukee and about winning there. And unfortunately for him right now, it's just not working out like that. And one of the most impressive things about Giannis putting up these performances night in and night out is he's doing it basically strictly off willpower. When you watch the Bucks play offense, it is the most stagnant, dead thing ever. There's no other word I can really think about than just stagnant and no movement. It's literally 90% of the time when Giannis gets his buckets, he's either just an ISO at the top of the key and he's just got to get downhill. He posts up sometimes and then faces up and tries to get downhill, maybe goes to that mid-range shot a little bit, or he's getting it in transition. It's only those 3 ways he's getting his offense. They're not doing any movements. They're not using him off ball as a screener. They rarely use him. Like, there's no creative ways to get Giannis easy buckets. He's just putting his head down, putting his shoulder into someone, getting to the basket, and finishing through them. And again, that makes for great television and makes it really interesting to watch the Bucks and watch Giannis when he's able to put up these crazy performances. But as we can see by the record, it's not how you win basketball games. Unfortunately, a lot of this pressure is on Giannis because a lot of the other players on the Bucks have been pretty underwhelming, like Damian Lillard. When you look at his numbers, he doesn't look like he's having a terrible season, but it's just a lot of ups and downs and ups and downs. The difference between his peaks and his valleys is just way too much for your second option. You need to be able to rely on your second guy, and Damian Lillard, unfortunately, hasn't been reliable. Obviously, he still is Damian Lillard and has his outbursts looking like his old self, like the both games versus Cleveland or versus Utah, where he's putting up near 40-point performances, knocking down 3 after 3. Those are the games from Dame you love to watch, but when it's some of the other, those valleys, once you get to them, it gets really, really rough. Against Memphis, he had one of the worst games I've ever seen from Damian Lillard. He was a complete non-factor on both ends of the court. Versus my Knicks, he was not very good. Versus Boston, I don't want to get on Dame too much because I am a pretty big Dame fan. But again, when he's your secondary option, you can't have the difference between, oh, we're going to get 40 points here, then we're going to get 4 points. You're going to hit 6 threes in this game, then you're going 0 for 8. We can't do that. Brook Lopez is also a guy who looks like he may have regressed coming into this season a little bit. I do want to give him props because versus Detroit in that overtime victory, he was absolutely amazing. He hit 5 threes, 5 blocks, almost 30 points. Like, again, shout out to him. Great performance. Hopefully we get more of those coming forward. But overall on the season, Brook has been really underwhelming. He's shooting 30% from 3 right now. You know, Splash Mountain, that was his big calling. He was a 3-and-D center. Not a lot of those in the league. This year, though, the 3 is not really falling, and then when you look at that defense, he's still a solid rim protector, and I do want to give him credit for that. He will definitely block some shots, but overall, as a defender, I definitely think he has regressed. It makes sense. He is one of the oldest players in the league. Obviously, Father Time has to hit you at some point. It's just really unfortunate for the Bucks that it's all of this issues compounding on top of each other right now. And again, when you just add all of this up, it makes sense why Milwaukee is struggling so much, because Brook is aging. Dame's not looking like the player he once was. Chris Middleton has yet to play a Bucks game this season, and I don't know when he even is going to be in the future. A lot of their free agents that they signed aren't really looking good. Gary Trent Jr. is not starting anymore. DeLon Wright is barely in the rotation anymore. Shout out to Taurean Prince. He was a really good signing for them and has been solid for them so far this season. But it's just a lot all at once right now for Milwaukee. I don't want this whole video, though, to just be me hating on the Bucks. It is really unfortunate, the situation that they're in. But things are looking slightly better. Like I said before, they are on a 2-game winning streak. And they are changing stuff. They're attempting to make changes to try to better themselves as a team. I know a lot of people, like I said, we're talking about trades. Are they going to trade Dame? Are they going to trade Giannis? In my opinion, they are definitely not going to trade any of those important guys. If anything, maybe Brook Lopez, but I feel like he's kind of safe too. I think they most likely will trade a Bobby Portis, maybe a Pat Connaughton, some of their bench players that they can maybe send out that salary, bring in guys that can really help them. But beyond trades, they have also been trying to look internally to help out a lot. They've been playing some of their young guys more often, like Andre Jackson Jr. He started a few games instead of Gary Trent, just because he shows a lot of effort night in and night out. I know that sucks that, you know, you're looking for effort. That's the change that you're bringing to your starting lineup, is effort. But Andre Jackson definitely brings that a lot, and it is a contagious effort that he brings out there. Defensively, he's always running around. His three-point shot hasn't been falling as good as it did last season, but all around, hopefully we can see some of that just that infectious energy kind of go throughout the other team. The main young guy that I really wanted to shout out, though, was the guy that eventually took Andre's starting spot from him, and that is AJ Green. Derry Bird, fire nickname in my opinion. That man is just, he's been straight hooping, a flamethrower out there in Milwaukee, shooting 50% from 3 on all threes. He shot 1 2-point attempt so far, and that was just in this last game versus Detroit. He is just strictly catch and shoot, coming off screens, strictly 3-point shooting, and the Bucks need that a lot. He's been great for them, really helping them space the floor. Ryan Rollins is also getting some PT now as their backup point guard. I mentioned DeLon Wright is not really in the rotation anymore. Ryan Rollins is the guy that stepped up and took his spot, and he hasn't really played too much yet. It is a recent move that they've done, but in his minutes, he has looked solid. You know, he's just a ball handler. He'll move the ball around a little bit, compete defensively, and he's been able to knock down his shots so far on low volume. Hopefully that can continue. And Bucks fans, I get it. I'm sure it is super, super frustrating to come into the season with these high expectations, a championship or bust. At the bare minimum, you want an Eastern Conference Finals appearance, and then to look now, still early in the season, so you know you gotta hold out hope a little bit. But you're the 12th seed, not even in the play-in tournament. I could see how it's very frustrating, and the things that we're looking on, clinging for hope, is guys like AJ Green or Ryan Rollins. No disrespect to those guys, but again, when your expectations are championship level, it's definitely not the talks you want your team to be in. For Giannis' sake, I am hoping the Bucks turn it around and are able to be a solidified playoff team and look somewhat like the championship level contender that we thought they could be coming into this season. I hope they're able to make those trades around the edges to bring in some guys that really impact winning for them. I hope all of this stuff happens, but I gotta be honest, when I'm just assessing how the team looks right now, offensively, they look uninspired. Defensively, they can't contest anything. There's really rarely any effort that I see from anyone not named Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it is really frustrating to watch for sure. And I'm not even a Bucks fan, so I can't imagine how you guys feel. But I I don't know. I can't really put them in that top tier anymore. They're definitely a better team than like the Magic or the Pacers, if you ask me, on paper for sure. I think they're able to turn that corner and become better than that, and we'll see that reflected in the standings and maybe even in the playoffs. But when you talk about them competing against a team like the Boston Celtics or the New York Knicks or the Cleveland Cavaliers, maybe even Philly, I mean, we've rarely seen Joel Embiid, but like these are all teams that I would probably take over the Milwaukee Bucks right now. And again, when your expectations are championship, that's not a really good place to be. What do you guys think though? Let me know in the comments below what your biggest issue is with the Milwaukee Bucks. And also, do you think they can turn it around, or do you think that it's going to be a lost season for them? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.